Hello and welcome to the Story Records. This is a podcast show I made so that I can nerd out about the short stories I post on my Ko-fi. And since I already mentioned it, I might as well plug it. Go ahead and check out my Ko-fi account. If you hadn't already, I have four, at the time of this recording, I already have 4 stories prepared to be uploaded on my Ko-fi. So when that page goes live, you should be able to purchase 2 stories, and the other 2 would be free to read because I am insecure about giving it a price tag. But yes, go ahead and check it out if you want. But yeah, it'll be really cool if you do, because this whole thing, both the podcast show and especially my Ko-fi account, the thing with the short stories and everything, were made to meet requirements for my final year project. Basically, that's really all that is. If it weren't for my FYP, I would not be working on it. Well, I might, but I wouldn't have the confidence to post it because, why would I? Anyway, I'm already going on a tangent. Once again, welcome. As I mentioned earlier, this is for an FYP. I don't plan on having any of the podcast episodes to be scripted because that will take a lot of time, if it's not to both script and record, because if it doesn't go the way it does in the script, I wouldn't be happy and I would have to re-record it 10,000 times as if I hadn't already done that. Honestly, this is probably like my 100th time recording a podcast episode. The previous 90 recording sessions I had to delete because I wasn't satisfied with how they went. But if I'm gonna have this unscripted and seem like a casual conversation of some sort, then I might as well just let the tangents go. Plus, that's how podcasts usually are, at least the ones that I listen to. They're often going on tangents and stuff. So yeah, you know what, let's just roll with what we have. Now, I might as well talk about the first, quote unquote first, because when the Ko-fi page goes live, all 4 stories will be dropping at once. But one of the free short stories on my Ko-fi, titled Lakeside, which will be the title for this podcast episode, and yeah, I might as well talk about that. You see, my sentence is all over the place, so I hope you forgive me for the lack of coordination in my sentences because, yeah, I am clearly underprepared. But, who knows? Maybe in future episodes, I'll be doing better and better. And I kind of... You see, I'm already going on a tangent. Okay, so basically, you know what? Before we get to the short story, I might as well talk about what I'm trying to achieve through this FYP. And aside from hopefully getting a good grade out of it, I also want to improve both my writing and also my speaking skills, because clearly I have issues in coordinating my words into proper sentences. And that would be achievable through this podcast, especially having talked spontaneously and stuff. Hopefully I would recognize my weaknesses, and I will be cringing so hard at this episode in the future because of how badly I messed up. But yeah, so this final year project thing, I guess I should explain for people who might not know why I chose to do this exactly. So since I'm a language student, we were required to come up with like an idea of some sort that revolves around the subjects that we've learned from previous semesters, and try to be creative and come up with some way to make them profitable. And I chose creative writing because I feel like of all subjects, that's probably the only one I'm most confident and comfortable in. So I decided, I'm just gonna make a page where I post short stories. Not that I'm that phenomenal of a writer either. Hopefully I can be, but as of now, I'm still very much an amateur. I want to improve. Aside from being comfortable and confident in it, I'm also aiming to be able to write better in the future, because I probably might consider journalism for my degree. Yeah, we're already getting there. But I just want to improve one of my few hobbies from like my school years, because and this whole podcast thing, as I've mentioned earlier, hopefully I'd be able to improve the way I speak, coordinate my words better. My goodness, it's already 5 minutes and I'm still not in the meat of the podcast show. For this FYP, good grades, hopefully, better writing, better speaking skills and stuff like that. And okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the short story. Now, Lakeside is what's it called? A short story. It's a short story I wrote last year for my creative writing assessment, and honestly, I'm very proud of it. Like, I was really happy with how it turned out, and rereading it for this I was still very content with it. I was like, damn, I was pretty good. It's not that good, but for my standards, I was like, that's pretty good. It's even better than some of the ones I've written. Though, not saying that the ones I already wrote for the project are bad. It's just that it lives up to the same quality. At least in my opinion, I feel like it matches up with that. However, Lakeside, aside from, being a work from last year, well, actually, considering the fact that it's something from last year, really shows how different my writing style is now. It could be the delay I've had after writing Lakeside, but I feel like the difference in how I coordinate dialogue, how I give exposition to characters, have really differed a lot in newer stories, at least the stories I've been working on up till this recording. I notice how vague I'm making them. Not vague in a sense where it's like loose, where I'm not really giving them characterization, but it could turn out that way for some people, or depending on how you read it. But like, personally, I feel like I leave out a lot of, not leave out, like I leave in a lot of space for the reader to think, like to fill in the blanks themselves, because I kind of like it when stories do that sometimes, where they don't really explicitly explain what exactly the character is thinking or how exactly the character is behaving, so that the readers can come up with their own ways to characterize the character. Though that probably sounds like I'm making a nonsensical character by not exactly defining them, but to me sense. But you know what, you should just go check out the other stories to kind of like see how different it is from Lakeside, which was, as I mentioned, the first, well, not really the first, the story that I've written from last year. But okay, it's different in my opinion. It's very different from the rest, but I should probably talk about what it's about, shouldn't I? So a brief summary of Lakeside. It's a story about Kyo and Cairo, kind of. It focuses on the main character, Kyo, a lady from Steele University who likes to hang out by the lake. Well, sort of. Like, the way I see it, it's kind of like she's sitting on a slope, a rocky slope that leads down to the lake. In the cover, you can kind of see that visual, but I don't think, I feel like the cover kind of captures how I imagine the slope and everything. But basically, long story short, Kyo likes to hang out by the lake alone because she doesn't really have friends. Well, that's not really stated in the story, but it's implied that she doesn't really have friends. And, like, she just likes to chill there and have her alone time, especially after a hectic day or like classes and everything. It's a good breather from all the chaos. And then one day, as per usual, she ends up by the lake again. and meets this character named Cairo, who she doesn't know, but this Cairo guy, claims that, well, the way he talks to her is as if they're friends. Now, I won't go into depth why this is because that'll be spoilers, but yeah, I feel like the story is kind of loose in a way where you can just interpret it any way you want. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out, honestly. I've had one of my friends read it. Two of my friends read it. Shout out to Balkis and Amira Patricia for reading the story. Balkis read it when I first wrote it last year. As for Chacha, she read it like recently and told me that I should probably include it in my website because it'll be like a great overview of how my writing is. Although, as I've mentioned 1,000 tangents ago, my writing style probably changed a lot from that because of how long it has been since I last wrote that, since when I began writing again. But so it could be various interpretations. I won't spoil too much, but I'll say it could either be interpreted as the character going back in a time loop, or the character having amnesia, or the character meeting a ghost. I don't know. Like, it's up for interpretation. But yeah, that's a basic premise of the story. Kyo meets a stranger by the lake who seems to know her, who seems to be familiar with her. Now, I won't tell you exactly what I depicted it as because I want to leave it to your imaginations. Now we're done with that. I guess I'll talk about the inspiration behind Lakeside because I really want to talk about it. Like, I hadn't really got the chance to talk about it when I wrote it the last. The most I did talk about was with Amira because she was asking me about it, and I was so excited to tell her because that was probably the first time I ever got to talk about stories I wrote. Mainly because I never finished the stories I used to write, so there was never an opportunity for me to share it to someone and talk about it anyway. But yeah, what inspired me to write this? I don't remember exactly why I was so fascinated with this concept, but I do remember and know that I wanted to write a story that had a loose, a vague ending. Not loose, I guess loose is a pretty negative term for storytelling, but yeah, a vague ending so that the reader can interpret it as how they want to. So as I mentioned, it could be a time loop, it could be a case of amnesia, it could also be of meeting a supernatural being. But regardless, I don't remember exactly what inspired me to write this story, but what I do know is the character names, Kyo and Cairo, were highly inspired by location names. So Kyo was derived from Kyoto or Tokyo, Japan, and Cairo, Egypt, because why not? Initially, there were going to be more characters, but I didn't want to extend the story any further. Plus, there was a word limit for the assessment, so I just had to leave it as 2 characters. But when I was planning to have more characters, all the characters would have had location names. So I had who else did I have in mind? I think I had I don't remember, but we'll basically have other location names in mind. I think it was oh my goodness, I don't remember. I think it was Berlin. What's another place? I don't remember, but yeah, there were lots of location names that I had in mind that I wanted to put in the story initially, but I didn't. I might use it again for a future project. Now that I think about it, I should have used that for the stories that I've wrote up till now, because some stories I just generated some names from Google. Some stories I kind of thoughtfully picked out the names, they had meanings that correlate to their characters. I'll probably talk about that in another episode, because there were instances of that, especially, well, what am I saying? Well, yeah, there were instances of that basically. And yeah, I think that's all I can talk about for Lakes, because I really forgot a lot of the things that transpired by when I was writing that story. Hopefully I'll be able to talk more about the other short stories, because they're more recent, like more in depth regarding inspiration, what, like drove me to write it and what I was trying to achieve. Because, like as I've said, for this one, I'm not really quite sure what I was trying to, like prove, but it was a good read and I hope you'll enjoy it too. It's already like 16 minutes looking at my recording. So yeah, I guess I'll end the session here. I won't say that the other episodes will be just as long or just as short, depending on how much I ramble. But yeah, I'll end the session here for the first episode. It's a very messy episode, so many tangents, and there are probably a lot of hiccups here and there because I don't know how Audition works, Adobe Audition works. I mean, I know the basics to it, like how to record and everything, but like there are any hiccups here and there, I wouldn't know how to like fix that. So hopefully it doesn't corrupt the audio file too much. I'm going on a tangent again. Okay, but seriously this time, I'll say goodbye to you for now, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!